Hello, hello. What's going on? We are live. Welcome back to Mental Health Monday. Sorry for my voice. I think I have a sinus infection right now, so I don't sound too great. Um, but we shall prevail. Today we are talking about suicidal ideation. But before we start, let me do the spiel again. I'm not a professional by any means. I'm currently working towards becoming a professional by obtaining my master's in clinical counseling. Um, So in about a year and a little bit, I'll be graduating and have my master's. Then I'll be working towards my license. But um, in the midst of class and everything that we're going through, I'm currently taking a crisis class, and we're learning how to traverse um, the dynamic between crisis with clients and like what's going on in their life and how to do it in a way that's promotes like the most safety for the client. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about suicidal ideations today, just because they've become so apparent in our thought processes, and like even passive suicidal ideation when like you're thinking like, oh, like maybe I'll just, or like just thinking about turning into like a light post or something like that, or like saying something like, oh, if I didn't wake up tomorrow, I'd be okay with that, something like that. That's kind of like a lot of it. Sometimes it's like based in humor, but those passive suicidations are still kind of thoughts of kind of not like living anymore, and those can be kind of a dangerous cycle to kind of start thinking like that. So it's just kind of be aware of that and making sure that you are taking care of your mental health if you are making jokes like that. But suicidal ideations is nothing to um, ignore or um, take lightly, because obviously like it's the thought of ending one's life, and that's a very serious and scary situation. um, we have practiced in our class how to kind of talk to them, really kind of open up about emotions, really look through and maneuver different triggers and things that may could be contributing to these ideations, maybe when they started. What has like a client done to kind of get out of this thought process, or when did the thought process start? And just like thinking like that and kind of going with that, you're able to kind of create a safety plan. So that way, if they ever are cognitive enough to realize that they are in this kind of way of thinking, or they're having these suicidal ideations, hopefully they can kind of look back at a safety plan that the client and counselor created together. And then they're able to kind of just go off based what the client and counselor kind of came up with on that sheet of paper or safety plan, just to kind of keep them safe. Um, to keep them the most safe as possible. So that's just a very important thing when it comes to people dealing with suicidal ideations, especially clients. I know for a lot of my friends and I who are going to become counselors, one of the scariest thoughts in our mind is having a client that ends up unfortunately committing suicide. And that is a terrifying thought. I mean, I wouldn't, obviously, no one wouldn't want that to happen, but unfortunately, it does happen. Some people unfortunately succumb to it, and it can be a very sad and detrimental thing. But I also want to take this time to kind of talk about, I've heard stories where um, maybe friends of friends had suicide ideations, thought about hurting themselves, and were really thinking about um, like hurting themselves, but they told their friends who were not mental health professionals or anything of the sort, and told them to keep it between them. And I just want to let you know, the safest thing, the best thing, and safest thing you can do for your friend in that moment is to tell the correct people, and according to mental health or whatever, just to keep them the most safe. Telling an adult, telling their parents, telling a mental health professional, something, because that's the best way to kind of help them help themselves. Because it is a scary thing. It has become a taboo topic to talk about, and it's scary because if we don't talk about it, then it's just going to continue to happen. Because I feel like we need to kind of like look at it and kind of find a root to the problem in a way. Um, and it's very different for each person in each case. So like, there's not like a select thing that we'll be able to do to kind of like help everyone, but a little bit more on the thing that it's just kind of understanding what you're able to do. And I know it might be scary time or telling someone else that maybe you or your friend maybe thinking about hurting themselves, but that is not your what's the word? That's not something you need to have on your shoulders, I guess. It's just it's you're not a mental health professional, so I know you may want the best for someone. You may want to do whatever you can to keep them safe, but I'm just telling you that if you are not a mental health professional or able to do anything kind of like help them in that aspect, the best thing to do is relay it to the next best source or the next best entity that is able to help them, because you may have their interests and hopes and dreams and everything kind of intact, and you may have it like in good intention, but by not relaying that information, you kind of run the risk of them not being able to deal with it properly, and then you get into a cycle that if they do hurt themselves, the person who kind of kept quiet will tend to blame themselves for not reaching out. So I know it's scary. You may lose a friendship, relationship for a little bit, but I promise you it's worth it if you really care about them and you really want their safety and you really want to do your best to give them all the resources to properly keep them on this in this world. And it's a sad thing, but just knowing your scope, knowing what you're able to do, even us counselors, we're not ethically allowed to counsel our friends or family or anything. So even if we have a friend who is who has suicide ideations, we're technically not supposed to like give therapy in a way. So we're not even supposed to have, we're supposed to relay that, because as counselors and clinicians, we're mandated reporters. So that means any inclination or feeling that we have a client who has suicidal ideations or have thought about it, um, we're mandated to report that, because if we don't and they do something, we are held liable in that aspect, and that is a very unfortunate kind of thing. So that's why we have all these precautionary steps to take and really focus on what can we do, how can we ask certain questions to get the most information to really allow for positive talk, positive conversation in order to create certain safety plans, get more information to see if you need to have um, hospitals kind of intervene. That's usually the next step if a client or a clinician believes that their client may be maybe thinking about or is going to hurt themselves or others. Again, the mandated reporter, we have to let someone know. And I just think that that should kind of go with the people who aren't health professionals as well, just kind of passing on the information, they because if you're not able to provide the correct therapies and techniques and um, perspectives that your friend may need, all you're going to do is just kind of be a part of that, and um, you may try your best to do whatever you can, but if they need professional help, they need professional help, and it's just in your job. Like, obviously, you want to be a good friend and you want to be their support system, and that is fine. But hiding it and kind of keeping it to yourself or in between certain groups is a can be a very dangerous dynamic to create just for the environment for your friendships and whatnot. It's a scary thing. I've known people who have taken their life and committed suicide, and it's a very sad thing. I mean, obviously, it is, and I just think that some people just need help. Some people are able to hide it better than others. And if you ever catch yourself thinking, like I mentioned previously, about the passive suicide ideation, just kind of be aware of that and conscious of that. If it's just in lighthearted jokes, or have a lot of jokes tend to have a thin line of truth to them. I don't know who said that, but there's a saying that, and um, just be conscious of what you're doing and just making sure you're taking care of your mental health. That is like the number one thing, especially over the winter months with seasonal associative disorder, where we tend to see higher depressive rates among individuals because of lack of um, vitamin D and whatnot, and other a bunch of other factors. But that's another one that kind of plays into seasonal associative disorder or SAD disorder, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, so we do see that. Just kind of make sure you're checking up on your friends, just making sure you're doing whatever you can to kind of provide the correct resources. In the description below, I actually put the suicide hotline. It's 988. There's other ones too. So if a little bit like more directive towards maybe what you're why you're feeling this kind of way. They're 24/7, so you're able to call them whenever you want, and it will just because it's another good resource to kind of have, just knowing that number if your friend ever comes to it, because they can call and they can kind of they can either stay anonymous or they can give their information or whatever they want. But just being able to talk to someone and talk about these feelings is way better than kind of just having it bottled up, especially when it comes to these ideations, because it's a scary and slippery slope when it comes to these ideations, because anything we see a lot of like mental health problems growing in certain individuals and demographics, and the only way that we can benefit that is kind of just talking about it, decreasing the stigma around mental health and suicidality, and just kind of promoting mental health in a positive way, and just kind of promoting therapy. Um, it's okay to need some. It's okay to not be okay, like cliche saying, but I mean that's kind of something that becomes more apparent as I study more and kind of traverse the clinician or the clinical counseling field that I'm currently in. Um, there's so much that we could talk about it. It's just, and sometimes there's other factors that play into suicide or suicide ideations. But again, just knowing your scope, knowing what you're capable of, knowing that you're not a professional and you're not able to give professional help is okay. That's the best step you can do, and just being self aware that you are not a mental health professional. So you shouldn't have to kind of keep that to yourself or along with the other person. So again, just it may not feel like it may not seem like it, but the best thing you can do is relay that information to someone else, and let a professional handle it, because that will put your friend, your significant other, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, in just better hands, in a way, in more professional hands that can provide these techniques, better resources when it comes to their mental health, and kind of um, shift and create this therapy that may be more beneficial to them, more inclusive to their person, and more person centered type of therapy. There's, again, like I said, there's so much to talk about, but I'm not feeling great, so I'm going to cut it a little bit short. Thank you for watching, whoever came in. But yeah, but for everyone, I hope you're taking care of your mental health. It's super significant, super important. Um, and again, if you have anyone, or if you're having suicide ideations, please reach out to someone, reach out to a professional, call the suicide hotline, call 911. They can do services and get you to a hospital when it comes to these suicide ideations. It's just the best bet to kind of keep it, um, just kind of keep your friends safe. Thank you, DJ. Thank you for the comment. I hope I will. I'm gonna probably go to bed shortly, but I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. So I hope this was helpful and beneficial, but hope you're taking care of your mental health. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe on any of my videos. Just check them out. I post throughout the week as well. And make sure you tune in for next Mental Health Monday. I will see you guys next Monday. Have a good one.